Hi, I'm Chad Robertson. I'm the General Manager at Archetype Entertainment, and I am thrilled to be back for another edition of our Founders Q&A. I've got some of my favorite colleagues with us today. As a surprise, you're going to get to meet some new folks that are going to give you some amazing responses to your wonderful questions that have come in. So before we get started with the questions, let's do some introductions. On my left, I have Drew. Drew, can you give us an intro to who you are?
Hi, I'm Drew Karpyshyn, and I am the narrative director at Archetype Entertainment.
Very cool. Thank you, Drew. And Jesse on my right.
Hi, I'm Jesse Sky. I'm the creative director on Exodus.
Very cool. Thanks, guys. First off, thanks for taking the time to talk with us and talk with the community. In all seriousness, we got a great batch of questions in this time, and I think the responses are going to be really exciting for fans to hear. So let's get started.
It's difficult to talk about the total span of years for the game without spoiling things, but I can say this. When we first started thinking about the IP back in 2019, one of the things that excited us the most was the potential to see huge changes in your home civilization based on the choices you make. For this game, the trick is going to be to give you enough time to grow attached to your homeworld and get invested in the characters there before we send you on your first interstellar mission. And from that point forward, you'll start seeing things advance at a rapid rate. But of course, we want you to see the human impact of your choices, so your initial missions are more in the range of a human lifespan. But by the end, who knows? Centuries may have passed.
Yeah, the great thing about our story is it starts at a very personal level and becomes very epic by the end.
Yeah, so the Awakened are one of my favorite aspects of Exodus. When we first started thinking about what it would feel like to board Ark ships and colonize distant star systems, my immediate concern was, what about my cats? I have 2 cats that I love and I don't want to leave them behind. So I want them to come with me on my adventures. And the more we thought about it, the more we realized that this love for animals is something that sets humans apart from Celestials. We're sentimental creatures, and I think traveling 15,000 light years from Earth would make us even more sentimental about the things that are unique to Earth. So we got to bring them with us. I'm also a huge fan of Hayao Miyazaki and Princess Mononoke in particular, and the idea of these independent, intelligent animals that have their own lives, their own motives, was really interesting to me. It's not something I've seen in an epic science fiction universe before, and it adds a touch of whimsy. And it allows us to see ourselves through their eyes as we start questioning what it means to be human in a universe that has basically evolved beyond us. So the answer to the question is, you won't be playing as an Awakened, but you will have an Awakened companion. And there are lots of Awakened supporting characters who will help you along your journey as well. And we'll announce more about them in future updates.
So Jesse, we've known each other a really long time, but I gotta tell you, I'm allergic to cats, man.
Oh no.
So I'm gonna bring my dog. Is that gonna be a problem?
Yeah, we got dogs too, it's fine.
We do? Okay.
Yeah.
Separate sections on the Ark ship will be good? All right.
Can I bring my elephant?
We do have elephants.
TBD. TBD.
TBD.
So the Maruyama are what we call Celestials. Celestials are the descendants of the first humans that left Earth, arrived in the Centauri cluster, and evolved over thousands and thousands of years before we arrived. So even though they started as human, they have evolved into very divergent beings. They're basically the aliens of our game. They don't look human. They're many different types, many different forms. They're also something called Changelings. Jesse loves the Awakened. I love the Changelings. The Changelings are genetically engineered, created by the Celestials to be their servants, their workforce, their soldiers. They use them to colonize worlds, to go into environments that are hostile, almost unlivable. Changelings are really, for me, a way to explore what is possible through the genetics, through the alteration of what life is. And I think they're going to be really fun, really incredible, and you're going to meet quite a few different ones.
Yeah, I think the Changelings introduce some sort of awkward and uncomfortable questions about what it means to be human, especially since many of them are possibly descended from humans or from other Celestials.
Yeah, and I don't want to spoil which ones are in there. I think, what were you saying, Chad?
Yeah, we've introduced one actually. So for fans that haven't seen it, go check out the Archivir video that we put out. There's a little bit of a tease, some stuff going on that we think you'll like too.
Yeah, that's a great question, and it was one of the big challenges we had to solve early in the project. So obviously in this game, you'll be taking on the role of a traveler, which is someone who ventures into the unknown to seek out powerful celestial artifacts and technologies. And that will include a mix of missions where you explore the ancient celestial history of your human homeworld, missions that take you into your local star system, and interstellar missions that take you to distant star systems. The game is structured around linear story missions with some open exploration beats and role-playing beats in your home city. Our top priority was to tell an epic story with choices that matter, and we try to give you as much agency as we can within that story. story. So there are a few beats where you can choose the order that you tackle story missions and side quests, but it's not a sandbox. In terms of its overall structure, it probably has the most in common with Knights of the Old Republic or maybe the original Mass Effect, which is appropriate because Drew was a big part of both of those games.
Yeah, one of the things I love about RPG games is you do get to explore a lot of different locations, but for me it's more about how the story is shaped by that travel, how your journeys affect your home, your companions, your allies, your enemies. What is the point of the travel rather than the actual mechanics or how it works? What are the consequences and how will that change your experience as a player?
Yeah, so for those who aren't familiar, Celestials are basically the alien civilizations that we have to contend with in the Centauri cluster. They were once humans from Earth, but because they traveled to Centauri at different speeds under the effects of time dilation, they arrived here thousands of years before we did, and they've evolved into countless cultures and species. To answer the question, you'll encounter a number of strange new species in the game, including a number of Changelings, which is what Drew discussed, which are subspecies created by Celestials. In terms of large Celestial civilizations, or what we call the Dominions, the Crown and the Mara Yama are the two big ones you'll encounter, who are still active in the cluster. And once your homeworld becomes technologically advanced enough, they start taking an unhealthy interest in you. But your homeworld was also created by a Celestial Dominion that is now extinct. And a big part of the game will be investigating the ruins of that culture to learn what happened to them. You'll have chances to meet some of the remains of that culture and use what you learn to inform the choices you make about the future of your homeworld. And one of the themes of our game is that those who don't study history are doomed to repeat it.
Yeah, one of the things, if you want to learn a little bit more about the Crown Dominion, I would check out the Archimedes Engine, the Peter F. Hamilton novel set in our universe. Gives you a really interesting glimpse into their culture and their worlds. And I think it's really a really nice introduction to the universe of Exodus. In our game, travelers are the heroes of humanity. They are adventurers, they're explorers. They seem to have a common overarching goal, which is to elevate humanity, to help us find our place in a galaxy that is very hostile, to help us find our world among these advanced civilizations that the Celestials have created. However, the way you do that varies quite a bit from traveler to traveler. So as a traveler, you leave your homeworld behind, and when you come back, things might have changed. So what the travelers have developed is a system of what we call dynasties. A dynasty are people who share your beliefs, share your systems, are loyal to you, who you can leave behind on the homeworld so that when you return, it will have been progressing in the way you want. Things won't have changed too much, or they will have changed in the way that you sort of pre-approved. There are different dynasties on every world that are often in conflict. Sometimes they're rivals, sometimes they're allies. In our game, you will have other dynasties that you run into, other travelers who have their own agendas, some of them who will help you, some of them who will oppose you. And it's one of the things I really love because we show that even though humanity has a common goal, we aren't united in our ways of doing things, in the way we think we should get there, in how we want to achieve these goals. And I think that play between the different dynasties is one of the things that really adds to the flavor of the game and of your companions and the story we're trying to tell.
Our universe is as much about contending with the difficulties of other humans as it is about aliens. All travelers are united by the Traveler's Creed, but there are a number of sub-philosophies that people ascribe to, which we'll explore in later videos.
Basically, the rot is a powerful phenomenon that affects celestial technology, causes it to degrade, break down, causes it to malfunction. The origins of the rot, the mechanics of the rot are very mysterious. It is unknowable, but also unstoppable, inexorable. Slowly, it will bring your homeworld to destruction if you don't find a way to save it.
Yeah, I will say the rot is a big part of the story, but it's also part of gameplay. It affects how you traverse levels and stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a great question. The story we're telling is very much the classic hero's journey, which is something I guess you don't see too often in video games recently. You start out with humble beginnings as a salvager just trying to scrape by on a dying world. But for various reasons that I can't go into right now, you know that you're destined for something greater, to become a traveler and build a better life for you and everyone you love. And it's the combination of that dream and that desperation that drives you forward in the early parts of the game. But then, of course, things get complicated. As you grow more powerful and influential on your home world, you start dealing with the problems of leadership, and there's a conundrum at the heart of it, which is that the more you fix up your home world and advance your civilization towards something that can survive in this universe, the more you draw attention of hostile forces which vastly outmatch you.
Yeah, it's really an underdog tale where you start as an underdog, but eventually become a true player in the galactic power struggle. But that's one of the things I love about our game is just that evolution of you from the humble beginnings to the grand epic.
Yeah, it really is epic in scope, I think. Yeah, I mean, so I would say, honestly, most of the important things. Time dilation, the travelers, the celestial dominions, the hero's journey. I think we've had a pretty clear vision for the story from the beginning, but it's very ambitious, so it takes a while to build. I guess one thing I would say is, I think from the beginning, I wanted our story to convey the richness of human experience, and I want to show people in a hopeful but realistic light. My favorite stories have elements of heroism, romance, tragedy, and comedy. I'm a huge fan of Lord of the Rings, and when I think of the game stories that I love the most, they hit you on a number of levels. And I think recently games have fallen into the trap of being very monotone, too cynical, or too idealistic, or too detached from human nature. Striking a balance is hard. Life is extremely messy, and every individual is a strange mix of good and evil, and I want our story to reflect that.
Yeah, the thing that actually amazes me is not only seeing the seeds of the story that still remain and those core elements, but how they've actually changed and evolved. That's the thing I find always interesting. You look back at some of the old documents, the old plans, and as we've progressed with the story, as we've brought other brilliant creative people onto the team, as we've taken the bits and pieces and started putting them all together, seeing how things grow and change and develop and broaden from those initial seeds into this vast universe is the thing I actually find really interesting, and the thing that always strikes me when I look back at some of the original documents. And
I feel so much pride in it, having we've been working together on this for so long now that around the office now even we have some documents on the wall that are sort of the tenets of what we envisioned Exodus to be before it was even called Exodus. Like the fact that we stuck to those at the core since the very beginning. I mean, just a testament to the creative power of these guys and James and everybody else involved to make something that we think fans are really going to enjoy. But it's really humbling to be part of it and see it have started back then and still stick to those roots and still be with us today in that same form.
Oh yeah, so there are outcomes that I think only a small percentage of players will likely discover, and I think they're pretty awesome, but I can't talk about them right now. Obviously, it'd be huge spoilers, but yeah, I mean, I saw some concepts for them recently, and yeah, they're amazing.
Yeah, one of the things I love about RPGs is having all these little Easter eggs, these other little hidden things. Our story is about choices. The choices you make influence the story, influence the outcomes, influence your companions, and we want to reflect that in what happens in the things you see. So there are definitely going to be things that as a player you will think you've played the whole game, and then you'll find out that your friend had something very different happen, or you'll go online and you'll see and you'll say, oh my God, I didn't even know that was possible. That's one of the things that makes, I think, the story so rich, is that there is all these little bits and pieces hidden away, these hidden gems that you can discover by doing different things or taking a different path than someone else.
And you're making choices over the course of so many years, and there's so many different sort of phases that your civilization goes through, that seeing the unique combinations that can result from that is really interesting, and it's a big part of, well, I can't say much more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the coolest part with this, and we've talked about that as the core of the game since so long, that seeing it come together in the game now has been just really exciting, because the complexity of that part of the development has been one of the deepest parts of it that has taken the longest time to get to a place where we can actually see it and see the way players are going to respond to it, and it's exciting to see that come online now.
Yeah, your relationships are a huge part of the game, including romantic relationships. But they're complicated by your interstellar missions, which separate you from the people you love for years at a time. So the choices you make with regard to your relationships have the biggest impacts on the story by a huge margin.
Yeah, our stories are about choice and characters. That's what makes a great story. So your choices impact your relationship with the characters, and your relationship with the characters impacts your story. And that goes for family, friends, romantic attachments, everyone you encounter. You can take things in one direction or another, and it will be reflected in the story and affect how your relationships evolve and change.
And some of the characters you have relationships with are very powerful and influential people on your home world, so those relationships obviously have an outsized impact because of their influence.
That's it for our Founders Q&A for today. We really appreciate you joining us, and I'm very appreciative of Drew and Jesse joining me today to help answer your questions. Please keep them coming in. We sincerely appreciate them. The depth to which you're helping us explore this IP is amazing, and we really appreciate you tuning in. So look forward to talking to you again soon, and thanks very much. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.